All right, guys, welcome. We're getting started just in a few seconds. I'll just introduce myself and we'll see if anybody else jumps on while we go. Um, I am recording this, so if anybody wants this after the fact, just let me know and I'll make sure and include you in the mailing list afterwards. So my name is Soren, and you should be able to see my pretty face in just 1 second, or not. Um, So what we're going to do today is we're basically going to take a look at uCommerce, do a walkthrough. First bit of it will be a couple of slides where I sort of set the stage for what uCommerce is, who I am, stuff like that. And we'll get into the demo where I'll show you basically the full product. If you want to ask me a question, please do so on the chat. I've had to mute everybody just to make sure that there's not too much noise on the line. So just shoot me a note in the chat, and I'll make sure and answer your question, or let you ask it at least, and I'll try and answer it afterwards. Please do so in English, as we do have some English speakers on today. And yeah, so let's get going. My name is Soren, and I'm the co-founder of uCommerce. Basically, I've been doing e-commerce for the past 10 years, and at one point, my co-founder and I, we looked at each other and we said, "Gee, we may be able to do this a little better than what we're doing right now." Basically, we'd spend a lot of time actually building e-commerce solutions based on standard software, standard content management software, standard e-commerce platforms. And we spent a lot of time actually building those two together so they worked in concert to solve the problem. And basically, it was never really that great when we did so. We spent a lot of time doing it, but because the two platforms were really not meant to work like that, we never really sort of made it as good as it could be. And also, our clients didn't want to pay us to do it. Now, so what we thought, well, let's try and do this once and do it well, so we don't have to do it again. And that's basically what uCommerce is. And while we were at it, we wanted to sort of build an e-commerce platform that offers a lot of extensibility options. So when clients come and ask for anything in particular, we wanted to sort of let you guys be able to go and modify the platform to whatever they wanted, instead of having to bolt stuff on to the side of the platform, not having it sort of be a native part of the solution. Good. So as I mentioned, we'll go through some slides. It's only 8 of them or so, and we'll be done in an hour and a half, depending on how many questions you guys have. So by all means, whenever if any questions occur to you guys, just jump in, ask them, and we'll address them right away. So, whoops. So the first thing here, sorry. So when we talk about uCommerce and e-commerce in particular, basically what our view of the world is e-commerce is a bunch of different domains that we need to address one at a time. It all starts with product information management, basically the ability to manage a lot of products. So what we did is we with uCommerce we went and built a product information management system from scratch that's able to scale to a lot of products. Hundreds of thousands of products. So today we've got customers working with up to 150,000 unique product items in the databases, and we can go a lot higher than that. Also, we wanted to build in more features that are sort of more e-commerce specific than what Umbraco offers. So in order to do that, we had to sort of build everything from scratch. Now, we try and address a bunch of different domains than product information management, but it's all sort of core to what we're trying to do. The next bit of it is catalog management. So you may have companies that are trying to sell different types of products to different types of customers. So the ability to sort of separate out those ranges and make sure that only the appropriate products are shown to the appropriate audience. Multi-channel for scenarios where you need to address a market via multiple channels, multiple brands, maybe B2B, maybe B2C, depending on which type of company you are. Web content management, of course, via Umbraco. So you can marry the best from the content management world with e-commerce, so you get a lot of flexibility in how you actually present your products. Social commerce. So basically, having your existing customers help you sell to new customers by enriching catalogs with user-generated content like reviews, ratings, vote, stuff like that. Have a social aspect to the site that makes customers come back, and new customers sort of look at information that is more believable. There's nothing quite as believable as a product review done by somebody else than the store, right? Order management, of course, for scenarios where you don't have a backend ERP system to do order processing, where you need to sort of handle all aspects of your online store in uCommerce itself. That's completely doable. Marketing for when you need to sort of do different types of marketing campaigns, do dynamic pricing, stuff like that. And of course, integration when you need to hook up your e-commerce platform with other systems like that ERP system I just mentioned, customer relation management systems, WMS systems, stuff like that. And of course, search engine optimization to make sure that your product pages rank as highly on Google as possible, giving you that free marketing boost there. It all starts with Umbraco. That's basically the first thing we were trying to solve, to sort of marry the world of e-commerce with content management to give you sort of a nice and seamless transition between the two worlds there. Um, a couple of weeks back, we did usability studies with uCommerce to figure out if our end customers were actually able to do what they need to do with uCommerce in a sort of a user-friendly manner. And one of the questions we asked was to sort of have them point out where they thought Umbraco sort of ends and uCommerce begins. And one of the things uh, our findings there were quite interesting, because basically what happened is the customers that were part of that usability study didn't really understand what we were asking, because they didn't really see Umbraco and uCommerce as two separate systems. Once uCommerce is installed into Umbraco, you basically get sort of a seamless experience between the two systems, and that's basically what our customers was sort of confused by, that we were asking something like that, because they really just saw one system instead of two. The second bit of uCommerce is basically the ability to go in and modify and adapt the platform to any scenario that you want. The idea being that clients can come up with some really interesting scenarios that they want to sort of support in the platform, and basically we ran our heads against the wall with other platforms in our consultancy days. So what we wanted to build is basically something where you can think about the platform as a puzzle piece, where you get the full puzzle piece fully assembled out of the box. You can use it as is. Or if you're not happy with aspects of the store, you can just go and modify that bit of it that you want. So basically rip out the puzzle piece that does marketing or price calculations or anything like that, and replace it with your own. So everything in uCommerce is basically fully configurable on a code level, so you can go in and modify to your heart's content. Now, uCommerce consists of a bunch of different foundations. Those are basically subsystems that address each of those domains that we just talked about. So, catalog foundation for managing all your products, hundreds of thousands of products. It's available with any version of uCommerce. No product limitations at all. Multi-channel foundation for handling multi-store scenarios, multi-brands, different types of stores selling to different regions, depending on what you need. Transaction foundation for managing baskets, shipments, payments, order processing. Social commerce, of course, handling all the social commerce aspects of your sites. Cross-border foundation for international selling, when you need to sell in Denmark, Germany, the UK, US, whichever market you need, for multi-currency, multi-language, all that sort of stuff. Marketing foundation for doing a dynamic pricing based on who you are, how much you buy, past purchases, stuff like that. Integration foundation, a set of APIs optimized for doing integration with other systems. So basically a set of APIs that are optimized for blasting lots of information into uCommerce and loading up a lot of information really, really quickly. And security foundation, of course, sitting on top of all that you can sort of use in the backend to determine who can do and see what in the backend. Now let's take a look at some of the stuff some of our partners have done with uCommerce in the past. Now it's important for me to mention that when I talk about our customers, it's not really our customers, it's customers of our partners, because we don't really do any end client work at this point, which is sort of ironic now that we've got the e-commerce platform that we always wanted as consultants. Uh, we can't really use it for anything. It's only our partners that actually go and do it. So when I talk about customers, these are the customers of our partners. And instead of looking at pretty pictures of the sites, I figured we might as well just take a look at the individual sites themselves. So let's jump out of this. Uh, okay, sorry about that. PowerPoint is really screwing me up today. So let me just get out of that. All right, let me find a browser for you guys so we can take a look at the first one. Um, there it is. Not apple.com so much, not yet. Just wait. So the first one is called Jyllandsposten. It's one of Denmark's largest newspapers. They use e-commerce to sell their print subscriptions, their digital subscriptions, a wide range of products ranging from wine, tickets, books, everything you can sort of imagine. They're using e-commerce free edition to sell all these products, and they're basically it's interesting to see a large company like this actually using our free software to support their business. But we're hoping for an upgrade at some point. Now, the idea with this is that they've taken the free edition and just customized it to suit their needs, and indeed you can go ahead and do that. We don't actually restrict the APIs in any way, so you're free to go and build whatever you want with even the free version of uCommerce. The second one here is at the opposite end of the tier. Book and Idea here is that the chain behind is called Index Retail, and they're basically operating three separate brands in the same solution here. Not that one. Let me find that one. So Boghandleren and Bøger and Papir. So if you sort of take a look at these sites as I switch between them, you'll see that there are similarities between them. They do sell different types of products across these brands. So the red side here, the book side here, is a more of a high-end kind of thing, whereas the two other ones are more low-end in their sort of look and feel. So basically, what they do is they have some products they sell across all three channels. They have some products that are only sold in the high-end channel or the low-end channel, and vice versa, right? Also on the business side of things, they've got products, or rather business rules. They've got business rules that are different across the different. Sorry guys, are you seeing the screen now? I think something screwed up with that. Better, excellent. So let me start over with the site here. So Book and Idea. Basically, they are a national retailer of books and stationery, and they're using uCommerce Enterprise Edition to sell products across different brands. So what they've got is they've got a single Umbraco install, single uCommerce install, set up in the same site, and they basically set up three different stores in that same site, and they're then servicing different types of customers in the different channels here. So Buganadir being the high-end brand that is centrally managed by the marketing organization, and the two other brands are managed more decentralized by individual stores. They're an interesting scenario where they're actually operating multi-channel, both online and offline as well. So you get a sort of the best of both worlds. Um, Jyllandsposten and Book and Idea here are both business to consumer sites. Let me show you a business to business site. Biker's Best here is a sort of a classic B2B scenario in the sense that when a dealer comes and logs in here, what happens is they basically get their own individual price lists. And so what happens here is that individual dealers have pre-negotiated price lists. So in essence, what happens is that they've got unique pricing between products, dealers, and quantities. So what's going on here is uCommerce is handling around 6 million unique price combos between dealers and products. So, and it's very common scenario in business to business. The second aspect of it that's interesting here is the fact that when you navigate on the topmost level here, you get sort of a really common catalog navigation where you're navigating the entire structure here. But when you dive down one level, faceted search capabilities take over, so you can go ahead and say specify which products you actually want. And as you can see, it's really fast in finding the products, and actually there's a good reason for that. Basically, Biker's Best here is competing with a bunch of different retailers of bikes and bike parts, so they need to be really fast because when dealers are actually using the site, they're in their own physical stores with a customer at the desk, and they need to be able to answer the customer's questions really fast. So having a site like this that's really responsive is key to them. And I want to show you a last one simply because it's kind of awesome that Carlsberg is running uCommerce and Umbraco. Um, but also because Carlsberg were able to get this site delivered in 4 weeks' time. Basically, it's a multilingual, multi-currency, multi-brand site that they did in just those 4 weeks with a partner who had no prior knowledge with uCommerce. The reason they were able to do the site that rapidly is called Avenue Clothing. Basically, Avenue Clothing is our standard store built on top of uCommerce that you can download, install on top of uCommerce, and basically have a fully functional store available promoted products on the front page here, the ability to add to the cart via a JavaScript API. As you can see, it's just updating the bits of the site that needs updating. It's got a full cart management bit of it, so you can go ahead and change your order lines however you want. You can remove, you can update, stuff like that. You can add voucher codes, and you've got the full checkout flow as well, so you can go through billing, shipping information, select shipping methods. So maybe you want ground shipping, air shipping, overnight shipping, stuff like that. Different prices depending on which option you select. And also it's fully integrated with payment gateways. So in this case, these are just in-page payment methods. But if you set up something like PayPal, Google Checkout, Dips, ePay, what have you, those bits will be enabled automatically as part of this. So you have the full payment flow as well. Also, we've included a bit of search for you guys, so sort of a predictive search here. So it'll sort of show you what matches the particular search, and you can navigate to that. In these mobile days here, it's we've also went ahead and made the site in a way so it adapts automatically to tablets and phones, just to sort of give you a sense of how we could do a responsive store that works on mobile devices. And the reason why we did that is recent surveys have shown that around 30% of traffic to e-commerce stores um, um, is mobile today. So it is quite a large percentage of customers that are actually visiting stores from their iPads and tablets and what have you. Avenue Clothing here is open source. It's freely available under a very liberal license, so you can go ahead and download this store here. You can use it as is. You can modify it. You can use it to build your new solutions on top of, and you can basically go nuts with it. So what we see existing partners do is basically take this store, download it, and modify it with different look and feel, maybe add some features, remove other features that they don't want, and they basically have their own starter package that is unique to their business that they can then go and present to clients who are looking to get a new store built here. It's based pretty much on the free features of uCommerce, so with one exception, which is the review UI here. So that is only part of Pro. Just be aware of that. Alrighty. So those are some quick sites, and let's just jump back to the slides. I will just show you quickly. So that's Jyllandsposten, Book and Idea, Barger's Best, and Carlsberg. Now, uCommerce comes in three different versions. Free edition is basically everything you need to operate a full store. So it's not crippled in any way. If you can actually go ahead and launch a full store on it if you need to. It's got the catalog foundation, so everything you need to sell, you can load it up with hundreds of thousands of products. We basically don't have any limitations on the amount there, as many categories as you want. Um, it includes a transaction foundation with all the payment providers. There's around 18, 20 of them at this point. And of course the full order management module as well if you don't operate in an integrated scenario. So uCommerce can operate equally well both integrated with an ERP system or without it. It just depends on what sort of your client is looking for. It comes with integration foundation as well, because we do realize that today e-commerce stores really need to speak with something. They're rarely just an isolated island. They do need to talk with freight carriers, payment providers, ERP systems, WMS systems, CRM systems, what have you. So all those APIs required for that are just right there out of the box with Free Edition. Building on top of Free Edition, we've got Pro Edition. It adds marketing foundation, so basically your an ability to do dynamic pricing based on marketing campaigns. You can do banners, you can do ads, you can do targeted content. It includes Spin Doctor, which is a targeted engine, targeted behavior engine. So which basically lets you, what it does is it sits in the background on the site, monitors what customers are doing on the pages, keeping tabs on that. Based on that past behavior, Spin Doctor can then start to suggest new content based on that past behavior. So in effect, it's tailoring the user experience to individual customers based on the configuration you've provided it. Pro Edition also includes international selling, so the ability to go cross-border, sell in multiple languages, sell in multiple currencies, different tax rules, different price rules. Building on top of Pro, we've got Enterprise Edition, which adds multi-brand, multi-store capabilities. So basically what Book and Idea are using today to sell their products using multiple brands. It adds Security Foundation that lets you go in there and on a per user basis decide who can see and do what in the backend of uCommerce. Using these features, you can support a bunch of decentralized management scenarios. Say you have different departments in the UK, US, Denmark. Maybe you only want the US guys to maintain the US portions of the site. You can just set up so that they only have access to those bits, those languages, those prices, everything. We have a customer today called Kusangas, which basically operates multiple different fulfillment centers geographically. And what they do is each fulfillment center is sort of receives orders which are particular to their local area. So they only process orders for any given part of the country, basically. So they can use Security Foundation for that purpose as well. Right. Pricing wise, Pro Edition is 24.95 per year. With that are updates included for new versions. So say you get started building a version on uCommerce 3 today. When we release uCommerce 4, you just have that available so you can upgrade free of charge. It also includes premium support, so you can get a hold of us via phone, email, support form, ticket system, and get help with your issues. Enterprise Edition is the same, just more stuff in the box. And of course, Free Edition is completely free. There is some support included via the forum, but otherwise you can purchase a sort of a service pack as an add-on to Free Edition if you need support with that. We're also available on a sort of a consultancy basis if you need us to do some work with you. Basically, our services are used mostly as part of system reviews, solution review, maybe reviewing specs from a client, maybe participating in client reviews. That's sort of an hourly basis that's charged on. We also have a partner program, which basically gives you unlimited access to pro licenses. So when you pay the Gold partner fee, you can basically use as many pro editions as you want within a 12-month period. It works like this. Let's say you do 4 sites in a year. You only pay up front for the first 2 ones. The last 2 ones are free. Let's say second year of your Gold partnership, you do an additional 4 sites. So you have 8 in total. You're actually only still paying for the first 2 ones. The last 6 ones are free for you. So it becomes an increasingly good business for you guys to be a Gold partner. We're doing this because we want to ensure as wide an adoption of uCommerce as possible. So this is a way to ride the gravy train with us while it's still early days here. So 2 pros equals Gold. Hope that makes sense. Otherwise, shoot me an email. Now, before we jump into demo, let me give you 3 quick points why we think you should work with us. First of all, we've got an awesome e-commerce platform. We have been there in the trenches with you guys. We know sort of the space. We know what challenges you guys are facing on a daily basis. And we've built the system that we wanted when we were sort of in your shoes. We integrate directly with Umbraco. We do have a seamless sort of experience between the e-commerce portion of things and the content side of things. And finally, you have our full attention. uCommerce is a product company. We don't have a consultancy that we need to run on the side. We don't do anything but this stuff. So we basically do 3 things for you guys. We build a platform, we support you guys, and we train you guys. So we do offer a training program as well. And finally, you're not alone. We do have a bunch of partners at this point that are using uCommerce around the world. These are just the ones I could fit onto this slide here, but there are a lot more. And so you know it's something that's been field tested. Now, with that, those are all the slides, and I just need to say a silent prayer to the demo gods, because of course now this is the time where things will start to screw up. I should mention also that the software we're looking at today, that's uCommerce version 3.5, the latest version released being 3.0. So we are looking at pre-alpha software. So if anything screws up, that's just the reason for it. So bear with me. Good. So this should be familiar to you guys. This is Umbraco installed with uCommerce. When you install Avenue Clothing, the Razor store here, what you get is basically a content structure inside uCommerce that looks like this. A catalog browse area, a checkout area, some search, and emails. Now, notice that you're not seeing any products as part of this structure here. And the reason being that when you want to support a high number of products, say 100,000 products or something like that, the tree structure navigation here starts to break down quite quickly. So imagine a category with 10,000 products in it stored in this node here. It sort of becomes cumbersome to work with. So what we did is we sort of leave Umbraco to do what it's good at, maintaining content, doing the pages, doing all the presentation, and we sort of deal with all the product aspects of the store. So you will never see any products or category structure or anything like that as part of Umbraco. It's all what you're used to seeing. Now, the development model, on the other hand, that's exactly the same. So it's basically Razor, XSLT, or .NET user controls, depending on what you guys need or what you're more familiar with. There are really no right answers there. I know what I like, and I know what a bunch of other people like, but it's all sort of up to you guys whether you want to go with one development model over the other. It's the same as you used to, only with a bunch more APIs available. If we navigate to uCommerce here, what you'll see is at the top level, you'll see our foundations. So the catalog foundation, the transaction foundation, marketing foundation, analytics, and settings, under which you'll find security foundation that I just talked about. If we start at the topmost level here, you'll see Avenue clothing that are installed as part of the demo store. And a different store here. I just set one up so you can see what that looks like. You can have as many as you want here. So you could service a bunch of different channels if you need to. You could also use it for something like marketing sites or one-off page sites if you need to do just one product promotion or something like that. When you click on the store, what you see here is first and foremost a way to link a store to a content site. That's done via hostname by default. You can see here I've set up two different host names, u3.dev/shop and u3.dev, which means that you can hook up the store to individual content sites if you want to. You can also have this one store answer or sort of service all content sites if you want to. Just leave it at default at that point. That will make all the products in this particular store available to any content site. If you want to, you can get in there via .NET code and override the strategy for selecting the store for a content site. So you could basically do a rule-based selection dynamically. So say I log in, maybe I get one store. Say I'm not logged in, I get a different store or some other scenario. At that point, it's all code. So you basically decide how the store is actually selected. Also, when it makes sense, we integrate with Umbraco services in uCommerce. So an example of that is down here. Our the member section of Umbraco is great to support stuff like order history, a login, all that sort of stuff. And of course, we can just create customers as members in Umbraco using this little check mark here. When we do, you can make customers. You can add customers automatically to a group and of a certain type if you want to. So say you have maybe two different sites. One is a B2B site, one is a B2C site. The group might be B2B, B2C, and the type same, right? Good. So if we navigate down one step here, you see the catalog level. Two things of note on this site here, or on this page here. First one is our multilingual features that you see up here. These are just languages that are configured in Umbraco, but we use them a little differently than what Umbraco does, because we actually go in and add a multilingual layer as sort of a core feature of uCommerce, so you can basically go in there and have your different languages baked right into your catalogs. The reason being that when you're doing a content site in Umbraco, for example, it's really common to have one root node for each of the content sites, basically because you'll quite often see differences in the structures for the different languages. So what's interesting here is that is usually the complete opposite of what you see in e-commerce. Usually, when you're selling a product in different markets, the only difference between if that product is available in the UK, Denmark, Germany, US, is basically pricing and some language-specific stuff. But it is the same product that you're selling. So we really wanted to be able to create multiple versions of that same product that are appropriate to different markets, and this is one of the ways that we're doing it. The second bit of it is the price group here. That is basically like a price list that you select on a category, or rather on a catalog, sorry. And the idea here is that if a product resides in multiple different catalogs, it may be priced differently depending on context. So in this case here, it would be priced in euros with a 15% VAT rate, while in this catalog here, it would actually be priced in US dollars. So this is also a way to actually do multi-language by default. Now, like with the store, you can do automatic. You can do the sort of the default selection of a price list, or you can actually override it via code again. So you can do a dynamic selection of which price list is available. So if you think about a B2B scenario where maybe if I log in, I need my own price list, you could actually go in and do a dynamic rule that says, okay, when Søren logs in, he needs his price list. So we look that up on his member profile and use those prices instead of the default one. So you can go ahead and do quite quite some rich scenarios around pricing just by overriding the price engine of uCommerce. Remember, if you have any questions, just write them in the chat, and I'll make sure and unmute you so you can ask it, and I'll make sure and answer it. Right now, second level or third level here, those are the categories in uCommerce. You can basically do your categories as wide and deep as you want, completely up to you. Categories are controlled by a concept we call definitions. It's basically like document types in Umbraco, only for e-commerce. We've got document types both for categories, products, marketing campaigns, all sorts of stuff. And one of the reasons why we did them by itself is that basically enables this multilingual layer here. So let me show you what a definition looks like. Definitions are down here in the settings area. So we've got product definitions, category definitions, and campaign item definitions. Now, for categories, for example, you can go ahead and set up different category definitions depending on which type of category you're creating. So it's almost like a content node with a document type on it. But the difference is that when you go in on a field, on a category, for example, you can go ahead and say, I really want this. I really want to have multiple different copies of this particular field in different languages. So you can just go ahead and enable that here. Same thing for products. So these are the different product types that are created right now in this particular install. The idea being that the product information you want available as part of selling a shirt is not the same information that you need when you're trying to sell a shoe or an accessory or a gift card. So just different types of information being available here. If I click a field on that guy there, you see the multilingual capability again, but also the ability to do variant properties as part of the product. So when this field is enabled, basically what happens is it adds that second level to the product, and you can go ahead and enable variant dimensions on that particular product, essentially creating a product family of individual variants. Now, you don't have to go fully with variants or fully without variants. You can actually mix and match. So products can have variants and live next to products that don't have variants. You're basically free to sort of model the sort of the real world scenario as you find it out there. Now let's go back to our category here. Take a look at that. So you can see on this category here, I've created a couple of custom fields here. So a content field and an MNTP field. Now the idea is to just demo some of the data types that we suck in from Umbraco and use directly in uCommerce. So here I can just sort of go ahead and add a bit of content to my category if I need to. It might be it could be some media, it could be something that enriches this particular category somehow. You can also use more advanced data types from Umbraco, like the multi-node tree picker. So you can go ahead and select multiple different content options on the product. We integrate with media. So we're using the standard media picker from Umbraco. If you're not happy with this, you can go ahead and change it. You can globally change out the media picker. So say you're using a system like a dedicated asset management system, and you want images to come from there, you can just go ahead and override the image picker we're using and bring up information from that other digital asset management system if you want to. But for now, we're just using Umbraco. It's convenient, it's there, right? So for this picker here, we've enabled preview, and that's just done in Umbraco in the usual way. We have enabled advanced features, so we can go ahead and upload media as part of editing this particular category, product, or what have you. You can add as many images as you want, so I've just added a custom image here. So you can have 10, you can have 20, you can even select sort of folders of images if you don't want to select a particular image, but just a bunch of them, and just keep adding more images to it. Just select one folder and use that on the front end to display whatever's in there. It is nice sort of dynamic way of adding lots of images, but not really having a fixed number of images. Now, this is the reason why we sort of moved the products out of the content structure, because lists are really much more appropriate for products, especially when you have a lot of them. And also it enables us to do some more interesting stuff with the UI here. So we can do some sorting for you guys. We can do some multi-sorting. And also we can do some filtering if you just want to see products that are priced $3.95. If you just want the Paraboot, Avery, whatever, you can go ahead and filter on that. So a nice way for a store manager to find the products inside a given category. You can also do global search right here if you want, if you need to sort of look through the entire catalog. Multi-language capabilities again on the category. And notice here that I've actually taken an image and made that multilingual as well. Now, this is a cool aspect where we're actually using Umbraco capabilities, but adding another layer of functionality on top of it. This is not something you can do in Umbraco today. You can't actually create multilingual attributes on document types. But because we're just using the UI bits of the data types from Umbraco, we can actually go ahead and add that extra element to it. So it enables us to do multilingual content, multilingual images, multilingual everything basically, if you need it. Now, if we take a look at a product here, the idea with a product in uCommerce is that you should be able to sort of click on that product and then get the full view on it. We don't want you to go hunting around for the variants. They shouldn't sit on different nodes or anything like that. You just need the full view here, so you don't have to sort of hunt for all the information you want. And as you can see here, I've created a bunch of different fields here, a Boolean field, a rich text field, an enum field where you can go in and specify what are the values that are allowed for this particular editor. We've got the variant field or variant level enabled for this particular product. It's a shoe, so makes sense. And you can of course create as many variant dimensions as you want. Just got 3 here, but you can do more. Pricing wise, you can see here this product is only priced in euros, but you can go ahead and price it differently in different euro price groups or in different currencies if you want to. And also you can go down on the variant level and override pricing there. Let's say you're dealing with different types of variants that are priced differently. You can go down here and do it. If a variant is not priced, we will just sort of use the default pricing set on the product family, so you don't have to go in and specify variant pricing if it's not needed. Media, same as for categories, and of course you can add multiple more image fields if you want to. Products can be shared across categories, across catalogs, and across stores. That's what the Book and Idea guys are using to sort of set up the product once and then share it out across the channels that they want to support it in. Related products are supported as well. You can do your cross sells, your upsells, replacement items, all that sort of stuff. You just click this little green button here and up comes the editor for that. You can select which product you want and what type it should sort of what the relationship means. So basically you can go ahead and say, I want this to be a replacement item. Say you're selling one product this year, it's replaced by a more awesome version next year. You can go ahead and say when customers are coming to the old product version, sorry, we're not selling this, but you can have this instead. So that would be one way to do it. Of course, you can do two-way relationships, so it goes from A to B and back to A from B. Now, one of the interesting things you can do with product relationships here are more advanced scenarios around product configuration. So let me show you an example of that. So you guys probably know Apple.com. I guess most people do. They sell some computers or something like that. But what's interesting here is that when Apple sells a computer, they don't really know what the end configuration of this particular computer is. They just know that they're selling sort of a 13-inch laptop here. But as a customer, I can go in and select different types of options on it. Some products are sold standalone. Some products are just sold as part of this configuration. And what I wanted to do was basically take a look at how we could support something like this with uCommerce and using product relationships. So what I did is I came up with some documentation for you guys that you can take a look at, see how we could do something like this. So the idea is that we create a configurable product in uCommerce. It will have a product definition of configurable. It's just to sort of to be able to tell the configurable products apart from the regular products. So as you can see here, what I've got in uCommerce here is a product that has a product definition of configurable. So it's not really, this is just the beginning of the product. It's not the complete thing. And it will just give you an initial price, so say $9.99 or something like that. Now, the next bit of it is creating all the other products that are sort of the options for this laptop. The idea here is that some of those options will be sellable by themselves and others will not. So to be able to support that, what I do is I create products as sort of regular type products. You can't tell these apart from the laptop itself. They are just products like anything else. So Apple could go ahead and use or sort of sell these products individually. It's all a matter of whether they publish them or not. Now with these products in place, we've got the configurable product that we saw before. We've got the 4 product options as individual products, but we haven't really sort of tied the products together in an actual configuration. We'll do that next here. So what we'll do is basically go in on the laptop product. We'll add a bunch of product relationships. You can see I'm on the MacBook right now, and I'm looking at the related products. As you can see here, I've created four different options: one for the CPU, one for the flash storage, one for the actual display, and one for the DVD drive. With that in hand, we actually have sort of a ready configuration that we can present to the customer. So let me show you the UI I did. You'll be blown away by this, by the way, so just wait. Now, no, when you see this, just bear in mind that I'm a developer, so UI is really not my thing, so just bear that in mind. But I created this awesome UI here, right? Times New Roman and all. Um, so if you squint a lot, you'll be able to sort of see the similarity between what Apple is doing and what I'm doing here. So functionally, it's the same. And it's basically just allows me to say, I want to buy this particular MacBook here, and I want to select between these variants on the product options, and I can select some of them. Some are optional, some are not optional, and that'll basically allow me to build up that particular UI. What's cool about this is being a .NET guy myself, I love Razor, so of course I did the UI using Razor. There's no problem doing something like this using XSLT or anything else. I just like Razor, so I did it like that. And the cool thing about it is it requires a surprising amount of code here, a surprising low amount, I should say. So basically the code starts here as part of the documentation, and it goes for a little bit. It's around 20, 30 lines of code to create a UI like that. So fairly simple to do it, and quite happy with that actually. Now, when we're talking about documentation, this is a great way to great place to talk about the different types of documentation we've got. So the thing we've been looking at here is our highest level of documentation. It's sort of a how-to kind of thing that show you how to do a particular thing with uCommerce. So build a product configurator, build a dynamic variant selector, whatever. Something that shows you how to use the product. Because what we found is when you're sort of trying to sell a product like uCommerce with all the inherent flexibility in the engine, it becomes really an exercise into sort of highlighting what could be done with the platform and sort of highlighting how that flexibility could be put to actual use. The second level of documentation is our sort of feature specific documentation. How can you actually do something with Marketing Foundation? How can you accomplish something with Catalog Foundation? Stuff like that. So more specific to individual features. And finally, on the lowest level of documentation, we've got our straight API reference, which is basically just telling you these are the methods, classes that you can use, and here are the arguments for that. So that's more of a reference that you will use when you're more familiar with uCommerce as a product. Right. Let's jump back. So sorry about the long sort of story about product relationships. I included here just to sort of highlight how we think about features. So when we do a feature for uCommerce, basically we want to be able um, we want to build a feature that supports that particular thing we're trying to do, but also we want to sort of build it as abstractly, generically as possible, so it can be used for a bunch of other things. And that's what we've done with related products here. I'm asking chat, is product relationship available as the free edition? And yes, it is. Relationships are part of free. It's just limited to one relationship type, so you just get the default here. So you get the common use case of it, but not the full flexibility of it, if that makes sense. Good. Thanks for asking, Kevin. Reviews. You saw that on the front end of Avenue Clothing here. So you can go ahead and do star ratings on reviews. I can provide my name here, um, provide my email, title of review, awesome shirt. When I place this review here, what I can do is I can basically go and comment on it. I can go and vote it up and down. I can go ahead and report abuse if I want to, and you can basically set up how you want that to be managed. If you want reviews to be self-managed, you can go ahead and do that. Just have them show up like I just did on the site. Um, or you can go ahead. Let's see where did I? Oh, that's a different site, so don't worry about that. Um, or you can have them run through a moderation queue, like so no reviews actually show up on the site until a moderator actually approves them. So just depending on the workflow that you're more sort of inclined to use. Right. Let's see here. Now, let me show you some data types here. So we took a look at the different types of UI here. So you can see we've got some different types of fields here. So let me show you what we've got here. So you can go ahead and create new data types down here. Just right click, say create, say my data type. So we've got a new one. And you can then select the provider here. So the top ones are the ones that are included with uCommerce out of the box. So those are standard uCommerce data types. But you can see here also we're bringing in all the Umbraco data types. So what happens here is basically you can use, if you install a new data type in Umbraco, set it up, uCommerce will notice it and bring it into uCommerce. You can use pretty much anything you want inside uCommerce. A feature like this is actually built using a principle we call framework first. The idea being that when we do a feature in uCommerce, we try and do or not try, we actually do the framework first without actually specifying individual features of it. So when we did something like data types, we sort of sat down, figured out what is it actually data type is all about. And when you boil it right down, it's all about presenting a custom UI for individual fields that you can sort of pick members, pick content, pick whatever, save that to the database. What we didn't say is anything about what the actual data types are. We do that after the fact. So what happens there is that when we start to build the actual data types that you see here, we're using this framework in exactly the same way that you guys would be using it if you were to go and extend it with new data types. So what I'm saying here is you're actually working with our APIs and frameworks in exactly the same way that we're using them. So you have the same options of extending uCommerce that we do with something like this. Actually, building a data type in uCommerce is really fast. I went to the UK last week, did some training, and then one of the questions I got were on how we could actually do overridable tax groups on individual products. And of course, the answer is you just want to create a data type that lets you select a tax group. And what's cool about it is we had sort of 15 minutes to go on the training, so everybody were tired. So I sort of figured maybe we could code it up. And it turned out we could actually do that data type really quickly in just 15 minutes. You were able to actually go in and select a tax group on a product as part of sort of the native experience. So that was kind of an awesome experience there. Good. Let's see. Anybody got some questions for the catalog bit of it? Otherwise, I will move on to the transaction foundation. Just go ahead and type it now. I'll revisit the catalog bit of it. So next bit here, that is the transaction foundation. So this is the thing that manages all the orders, shipments, payments, checkout flow, all that sort of stuff. This is just a UI for managing products. Now for 3.5, actually before we talk about 3.5, let me talk about what this actually is. So these are order statuses that you can set up. Sitting underneath the order states is a state machine that decides which states an order should pass through. So you get sort of a workflow engine here that lets you sort of have orders pass through the same workflow each and every time they're set. So when I look at an order like that and I try to change order state on it, notice here when I drop this list down that I have less order states available than what are actually configured in uCommerce. So, and that is basically those rules deciding what are the next available order states given the state I'm in right now. Also, I should mention that these workflows here are completely configurable, so you don't have to go with the ones we provide out of the box. This is just here because this is the workflow we've seen a million times before, so that's what we provide. But if you want something simpler, you can go ahead and sort of whittle it down to maybe just 2 states. I see that too. You can have a more elaborate workflow with maybe 10 or 15 order states that the order needs to pass through depending on the amount of workflow you want to do. So completely up to you. Now, one of the cool things about version 3.5, first of all, we added these filters here, so it'll allow you to see orders from today, this week, month, last 3 months, this year, or all of them. So you can see it's just an easy way to get sort of an overview of what's going on. Second bit here on this screen that's new in 3.5 alpha is this button here, create new order. So what you can do is you can create a new order as part of the backend here, which is great for scenarios where maybe you have customer service personnel answering phones, taking orders like that. You can go ahead and have them use this UI here to provide the details that you want. So if we create a new order here, you can select an order state you want it to show up in. Basically, we will only allow you to create new orders in order states that are editable. You can select which store you want to add it to, and also which currency the order should currently use. So let's just create a euro one. Bear in mind this is, and let's do it on when it was submitted. So this is the new one I just created. Let's navigate to that. Now, this is just a blank order. There's nothing in it because we basically just created it, right? So when time comes to add new order lines, I can use this button here. I can navigate to anywhere in the catalog and just say, let's just add these products here. Maybe add something from shoes. This is a major order, like that, right? And we can just go ahead and select which price group we want to suck out prices from. Save that, and we should have a bunch of order lines like that. So completely new order in the backend that you can then start to do order processing on, like before. You can go ahead and edit billing information if you need to. You can also go ahead and manage discounts on it. So if you need a new discount, just add that. Maybe the customer calls in and is pissed about bad service or something like that. Maybe something got lost in during shipping, something like that. So you could go in and appease the customer by giving them 10% discount due to horrible service. I don't know, something like that, right? Also, you can do shipping as part of this shipment management. uCommerce supports multiple payments, multiple shipments per order. So if you want, let's say you want to split this shipment in two different shipments. So you want some of the order shipped to to your office or to your home, or I don't know. You can just add a new shipment here. That'll show up down here, and say I want to move one of these order lines here to a different shipment. So what I do is I just grab the one I want and drag it to the new shipment here using drag and drop here. So kind of a nice and easy way to do it. Good. Audit trails. So for all the stuff I've done in the backend here, we create audit trails so we can see who did what and when. And basically, this is when we created the order. This is the new order lines we did, and these are the order lines we moved from shipment 1 to shipment 2. So we have sort of an overview of what's going on. So all actions are actually sort of managed like that. I should mention that when we're moving orders between order states here, we are executing code beneath the covers. This is an extension point that you guys can hook into and modify the business logic of the store. And the way we do it is via a technology we call pipelines. So it's not really, it's nothing fancy. It's just an implementation of the pipeline pattern, pretty common in development. And let me show you what that looks like. So a pipeline is basically a bunch of sequential code that's executed as part of the checkout or as part of the processing flow. And we use pipelines for all different kinds of things here. So let me show you. So this is the site that we've been navigating up until now. I'll navigate to the Umbraco folder. I'll find the uCommerce folder, find the pipelines folder, which is right there. Notice here, these are the pipelines that we've got. And a pipeline, as I said, is just a bunch of code that's executed sequentially, modifying whatever object it's working on. So let's say you're checking out of the store. You've come to the point where a basket needs to be converted to an order. At that point, the checkout pipeline takes over here. So let me show you what the checkout pipeline looks like. So the idea with the pipeline is it's basically an XML file, as you can see, and what we try to do with it is make it readable and sort of give you an idea of what's actually going on when you read over the XML here. So I hope you agree that when you take a look at the names of these steps that are performed, it should be sort of obvious what's going on. Validate payments made against order total. So we don't want to let orders through that haven't actually been paid in full. Assign an order number, create a customer, create a member for customer, convert the basket to an order, add order trail, so on and so forth. I hope it makes sense. Now, the cool thing about it is what you can do here is you can hook into this processing flow here and just do your own stuff here if you're a better speller than I, at least. So let's see here. There it is. So what you do is you do a new step, my custom step, send SMS, for example, or a text for those of you from the US, right? So just send a message to the mobile phone here. Now, of course, just typing this is not enough. You have to go and implement this functionality, but you can go ahead and do that. It's really, really simple. You implement one interface called iPipeline_task. It has one method called execute, and building that is really simple. When that's done, you hook it in like that, register the component down here, and off you go. There's full documentation for doing this, so you don't have to worry if you didn't catch all the steps. You can just go and read the docs on it. All right, now what we were talking about before is the transition between this order state and that order state. And we've got a different pipeline that handles that bit of the transition. So let me show you what that looks like. So going back to the pipelines folder before, so we're in Umbraco uCommerce pipelines, and the pipeline that's executed between that transition is called toCompleted order. Now that does something else entirely. So as you can see here, what it does is it acquires payment. So what happens is it's integrated directly with the payment gateway that that particular order that's being processed right now was placed with. So what you can do is, or what uCommerce will do is it'll reach out to the payment gateway, be it SagePay, be it Dips, ePay, whatever, and capture the money from the customer account when the time is appropriate. So the idea there is that you don't have to actually go and log into the payment processing bit of those payment gateways. It'll just happen via automatic API calls via our custom providers. And speaking of providers, let me show you which ones we've got out of the box here. So a payment method is just sort of a way to pay, and what you can do is you can associate a service with it. And let me drop down this list so you can see what we've got. So out of the box for the US, we've got Amazon, Authorized.net, Braintree, PayPal, PayPal subscriptions. For Denmark, Dips, ePay, we've got a bunch of new ones coming up for version 3.5, QuickPay and NetAccept. For the Netherlands, or no, this one is for Australia. Bunch of different providers here. This is done via that framework first principle I talked about before. So if you need a specific provider that we don't have out of the box, of course you can just go ahead and build it, implement it in, and it'll just look and behave exactly like a native provider, like the ones we've done. So no difference there. Good. Now let's go back to Order Foundation here, or Transaction Foundation. Let me show you one other thing before we move on. One of the things that really annoyed me in the past when I worked with other platforms was the fact that they made it really, really complicated or impossible even to extend the UIs of the platform. So one of the very first things we did when we built version 1.0 of uCommerce was to make the UIs here extensible. So whenever you see these tabs here, you just need to go, all right, I know that I can extend that. So what you can do is you can actually go ahead and build your own tabs here and add them in where you think it's appropriate. So a common extension to the order processing panes here is actually doing label printing or shipping printing or something like that. So you can just add in whatever workflows you need and make it a seamless part of the existing UIs. And indeed, you can do this wherever you want. So you can do it in the product editors, you can do it in Marketing Foundation, you can do it right here. We use it internally for doing specialized editing of different types of products if you need to. So say gift cards, for example, have a different way of rendering their price information than a regular product. So we can just go in and differentiate the rendering in the backend based on what you're actually looking at. You'll see that in version 3.6 when gift cards are available. All right. Now, payment methods, of course, are not just about payment. They're also about when and where you can pay. So payment methods can be assigned to different stores, to different countries, and the same thing goes for shipping methods. So you may not want to make all the payment methods available in all your stores. Let's say something like PayPal, for example. It's not that commonly used here in Denmark, but in the UK, in the US, it's more common. So if you're servicing those three markets, you may want to make PayPal available only in the US, only in the UK, whereas you want to use a local payment gateway for processing Danish transactions, for example. So you can completely specify how you want to do that. Also, you can go ahead and do pricing. So you can do payment fees as part of this, also shipping fees. And of course, you can hook into this coding-wise. Let's see here. Now, let's take a look at Marketing Foundation, which is basically a way to do dynamic pricing based on rules that you configure via the UIs here. So the top level here is the campaign level. The idea being that when you're doing marketing activities, never just one thing, it's always a bunch of things that you want to do together. So the individual campaigns here just combine a bunch of activities into one that can go live at a certain point, and it can be disabled at a certain point as well. And that's what the start and end date here is all about. You can go ahead and say, I want this to start by September 23 and end December 26th. And that will just basically enable, disable automatically the entire lot of activities. Also, what you can do is you can assign these campaign activities to individual stores. So you can see here I've got 3 available. So you can sort of differentiate the marketing messages that you've got in your different channels. Maybe you have a campaign that's only available for a certain type of customer, maybe for a certain brand. You can go ahead and do whatever you want there. Now, if you expand that campaign, you'll see the individual campaign items that comprise that campaign. So first bit of it here is a discounted unit price, the simplest discount you can do. We use a model we call AAA when we do discounting. So it's advertise, act, award, where the idea is the first column here decides when and where you want to tell the customer about a given discount. So in this case here, we're telling the customer about a discount on this particular shirt when the customer is actually looking at it, which makes sense because we're trying to render a discount UI as part of the product. So imagine the previous price with a line through it and then the new discounted price next to it. That's the basic idea, right? The second column, act, that's what we want the customer to do. So in this case, we want the customer to actually buy this particular shirt. And finally, the award column, the last one, is basically the carrot. That's what the customer gets once he or she does what we want them to do. So in this case here, it's a €100 discount on the unit price, which means if I buy 10 of them, I'll get €1,000 discount. Now, these guys here are called targets. And what you can do is you can combine them into each of these campaign items. So notice here that for my bundle discount here, what I'm doing is I'm advertising the fact that I've got this bundle globally on the store. So it's a much wider discount in the sense that I'm making the customer aware of it globally in the entire store. Also here, I've started combining these guys. So instead of buying just one product as we saw before, you actually have to buy 2 together. So you have to buy this tie here and you have to buy this polo shirt. And I added a little twist to it. So you actually have to buy more than 20 of them. So you have to buy sort of maybe 10 of this guy, 11 of that guy, or just in combination, you need to buy more than 20 of these to trigger this particular discount. And as with the targets, you can also combine the awards. So in this case here, I'm not just getting 1 award, I'm actually getting 2. So I'm getting an order total discount and also free shipping, which is fair when I've bought that many shirts and ties, right? Good. We do promo codes as well, or voucher codes, if you will. Here's an example of a sort of a classic promo code setup. When you have a code, you get an amount off your order total, and that's what I've set up here. So I've got 100,000 promo codes set up, and each of them will give me €100 discount on the entire order. Now I edit these promo codes by using this discount here. And if I can either do manual discount codes, which are great if you need to do print, for example. Say you have maybe some promotional flyers or something like that you need to send out a lot of. Well, you can just do a fixed code that says summer sale, get 10% off. Just do a manual thing where you need to use it, right? So do summer sale here and just say this thing here is reusable 10,000 times. So you can actually go ahead and have that same promo code on multiple different print items, right? Now, if you want to generate new codes, you can use the right-hand side here. So you can go ahead and prefix, suffix, so add a little bit to the beginning of the code or a little bit to the end of the code. And you can go ahead and say, I want my promo codes to be 6 characters or more longer. You can't go lower because we want to be able to generate a lot of codes for you. And with less characters, we get less sort of combinations and thus the ability to generate a lot of codes here. So let's just say I want to do 100,000 additional codes. So I've got 200,000 in all. Just click add here, and now we've got 200,000 codes. So let's go back. With these codes here, you can export them to other systems. So just click the little export button here, and here's the file. So you can see my codes from before. The idea is that if you've got a newsletter system like MailChimp or Campaign Monitor, or if you've got a point of sale system where you need these codes, you can export them from uCommerce, import them into your mail system, point of sale system, wherever you need them. We did something like this a couple of years back where we went to a conference. We had some business cards with unique codes printed on them. So we basically exported our codes, sent them off to the printers, and had those business cards printed up, each one with a unique code on the back of it. So that's one use of it. All right, and of course here we're getting an amount off the order total. Now let me show you, because we've split it up and because you can you can combine targets together. You can actually do some pretty interesting promo codes here. So let me show you one where I've done a little more interesting stuff here. So this is still a promo code. You can see here. I've got 1,000 in this batch, so it's not a huge batch because I'm targeting a much narrower audience with this one here. But this promo code here only works if I also buy this polo shirt. So it's a promo code for a specific product. But also, it only works if I'm in a particular segment as a customer, right? So it only works if customer type is member. So if I'm essentially registered on the site. So that's why I have fewer of them, because the target audience is much smaller. Now, what I'm using here to do that is a dynamic order property target here. And basically what it is it's an ability to target custom information on the order or order line. So it's a handy way of doing custom scenarios without having to do a lot of code. So let me show you what that looks like. So you can basically target any property on the order or order line here if you want to. And you can sort of say, I want it to be equal to, greater than, less than, and so on and so forth. And I want it to be this value here. So that's basically all you need to be able to target some information that you populated on the order itself. And in this case here, instead of giving a discount on the order total, I'm doing it on the unit. So again, if I buy multiple shirts, I will actually get multiple discounts, one for each shirt. Right. Now, let's look at the targets we've got. So you can target anything in a store or product catalog group, as we call them, anything in a catalog, anything in a category, a product variant, or product family, a promo code, as we saw before. You can specify that I should buy more than X amount as a customer, so should buy for more than 400 euros, something like that. You can specify that the customer should buy more than X pieces of something, so more than 10, as we saw before with the ties and the polo shirts, or on a dynamic order property. And you might be wondering, what do I do if I'm missing a target here? If there's something I want to target but we didn't think about? Well, this stuff is built using that framework first principle that I talked about before. So of course you could just go ahead and build your own target, plug it into uCommerce, and it will work in concert with the existing targets. Again, one of the things that really annoyed me about other platforms was the inability to do something like this, because promotional activities, discounting is a really complicated domain where companies have a lot of different ideas on how to go about it. So we realized right off the bat that we couldn't possibly address each and every scenario right out the box. So what we did instead is come up with the most sort of common scenarios for you guys, so they work out of the box, and then enable you guys to actually extend on uCommerce if you need to. Same thing for awards. You can award on the order total. You can award off the line total, unit price, as we saw. You can do the same with percentages, and you can target specific order lines. So say you're selling a bundle of that polo and that tie from before. If you want to be really specific as to how that discount is sort of split up between the products, you can go ahead and use this target here. So let me show you. I think we've got maybe one here. Let's see. Right, so you can go ahead and say, I want to give maybe 10 fixed amount on the price or on the line total of this particular item. So you can see here selecting you can select one of the order lines. So in this case here, it's the first one here, it's the tie. So that'll get 10 amount off. And we can then target the other line and do maybe 20 of that if you want to. So you can be really, really specific in how you want to do it. Good. Now the final bit I want to show you is security foundation. So basically we suck in the users from Umbraco and make them available inside uCommerce. And then for each store that you create, we attach a dynamic rule set to that. So you can see here, I've got Avenue Clothing, I've got Printer UK, Printer US. You may not have noticed, but that's not really available here. That's because I don't have access to it. But I do have access to settings, so I can see it anyway. So yeah, just need to make sure that if you want to limit, also limit on the settings. Now, on each of these stores, you can go ahead and specify which of the catalogs I should be able to access. So in this case, I can see the demo store catalog, the tags catalog. But you can see here I can perform some actions on the demo store catalog, whereas I can't on the tags catalog. Also, I can't create or delete new catalogs. I've got access to reporting. I can see marketing. I can do auto processing. I can see some language, but not all of them. Apparently, my South African is not amazing, so I'm not allowed to edit that. Um, and also the same thing for price lists. So you can set up which price list you should be able to actually go ahead and modify. Same thing for the different stores here. The final bit I want to show you is how you do email in uCommerce. So I've seen a lot of platforms where you want where they when they provide you with a feature like this, they come up with sort of their own templating language for setting up the body of the email. But why do that when you've got a full CMS to support you? So what we did instead of doing our own templating model is basically just using Umbraco to do that bit of it. So what you can do is you can set up types of emails. I should mention that this is not bulk email. This is meant as one-to-one communication, so order confirmations, invoices, employee booking notifications, whatever. You still want to use a dedicated newsletter system to do the bulk email. Now these are the types. So when time comes to actually specify what the body should be, you can go into the profile here. Let's do the confirmation. So you can see, say, who should the email come from? What's the sender email address? Should it be copied to anybody, visibly, invisibly? And also, what should the body be? So here you can see my subject would be order confirmation. And then you can go ahead and select the body of it. So navigate Umbraco, select the email template. And what happens here is that uCommerce will do a loopback request to Umbraco, get the contents of the email body. You can have templated the email using Razor.net, XSLT. You decide. We'll just use that in the email, send it off to the customer, and off you go. Now, I showed you all those puzzle pieces from the very beginning. So let me show you some of the extension points that we've got, and then we'll do some questions if you've got any. Otherwise, we'll just end it here. So let me show you the last bit of it here. So all components of uCommerce are configurable. Pipelines are just the tip of the iceberg to say the least. So here are all the core component configurations of uCommerce. So basically every moving part of uCommerce is configured down here. So let's go to core and see some of the extension points that you've got. So if you want to override the way uCommerce does pricing, for example, you can just go ahead and hook into this bit of uCommerce and change it, right? So you don't want to change the service bit of it because that's the contract. That's what we want to leave in place. But you could go ahead and say my custom price engine. Whoops. My DLL. So basically, with this in place, you've taken over the entire price calculation of uCommerce. So you can go ahead and make it behave exactly like you want. You can do the same thing for taxes, ULs, how we change order states, everything. You can even do it for data access if you're not happy with the way we do it. So just rip out our data access layer here. Indeed, you can do this for anything, even the Umbraco integration here. So if you notice here, these are all the components that we use to integrate with Umbraco. So you can just go ahead and if you're not happy with the way Umbraco does uses, if you want them to come from some other place, override the user extension point. If you're not happy with the way we do images, if you're not happy with the way we do content, you can just say we want that to come from a different source. So every component of uCommerce is configurable. Any component you can take out, replace with your own. You can just go ahead and do that. And with that, we've actually gone through the entire demo here, and we can do some questions if you like. So go ahead and fire off your questions. Otherwise, that is all I've got to show you guys. So the question here, how can you go with uCommerce without .NET experience? Good question. So you don't have to use the .NET extension points. Those are just there if you need them. You could go with the JavaScript API if you need to. Let me show you. So we did some JavaScript API here that you can go ahead and use. So this should be fairly familiar to you guys. just go ahead and do something like that. So you could just use that. If you're more familiar with something like XSLT when you're doing your templates, you'll have to do your Umbraco templates at one point or another, right? We've gone with Razor for the default store here, but there is an XSLT API as well, so you can go ahead and use that if you're more sort of familiar with that. So let me see if I can remember the syntax here. Variable name. So you can use an API that looks like this. And with that, you'll have an XML structure in Basket that you can use to skin the site. And we do have a store that's based on XSLT as well. It's not as pretty as Avenue Clothing. It's not as functional, but it does require all the moving bits that you need. Does that answer the question, Klaus? Excellent. Any other questions? I can show you some of the .NET APIs while we're waiting. So, Commerce Library here. This is the same. This is the same syntax, but in different languages. So, or it's the same API, but just used in different contexts. So this is the .NET API. You can go add to basket. So I hope you get sort of a sense that the APIs are not really that complicated when you're using them at the highest level. So if you just want to get a store done quickly, you can use these APIs. If your client has some very specific needs as to customizations, how they want something to look and feel, then you can drop down into the lower levels and really get into it. So just know that you've got a lot of options that you can use, but you definitely don't have to do it. So let's say for Razor, for example, if you wanted to show all the order lines, you can do something like this. Let me expand that a little bit. So it is really, really simple to do it. So you can just go, if I can spell here, right? You could do span for the quantity. So even if you're not a sort of a .NET developer, you can use something like Razor 2 just to do the formatting bits of it, um, depending on what you're more comfortable with. Any other questions? Okay, that's a question. The same options available in XSLT as in Razor, and the answer is yes. The Razor API and the XSLT API are based on the same centralized API. So the XSLT API basically only takes the Razor API outputs and converts it to XML. So they work the same. Any other questions? Otherwise, you'll have the full video available, so you can revisit some of the things we talked about here. And of course, if you want individual demos at some point, or if you need help with anything, we're here to help. It's we're a product company, right? So you have sort of our full attention when we're talking about delivering the platform to you guys, and when you have a solution and you need some assistance with that. We don't run around and do a bunch of other things too, because this is what we want to be doing, and that's what we're doing. So thanks, guys. Okay, so there's a different question here. The Avenue clothing is available open source, is that correct? And yes, it is. So it is available under a very liberal open source license. I believe it's the MIT one, same as Umbraco. You can go to Bitbucket here, which is where we host it. You can search for uCommerce. You'll see a bunch of different ones because there are people that have cloned it, but you want the one that is that has our logo here. So this one. And here you can just go and either download the binary, the sort of the thing that you install. This is the Umbraco package, but you can also just take a look at the entire source if you want to see sort of some examples of how what a script looks like. So say you want to take a look at the cart, just go ahead and click there. You can see, okay, so there it is. This is how you do a cart page. So yes, it is open source, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can download okay, so the question is, where can I download the XSLT demo store? You can go to ourumbraco.org. You can search for uCommerce. You can find the uCommerce project, and it'll be part of that. So if you scroll down to the download bit of it, there it is, right there. So an interesting fact about the XSLT store is we haven't actually touched it since uCommerce version 1.0. So it's the exact same XSLT APIs as we had in version 1.0. So we basically didn't have to modify it at all when we released version 2 and 3, other than add new stuff to it. So our APIs have sort of stood the trial of time, at least on the XSLT side. Quite happy about that. Any other questions? By the way, Avenue Clothing is available on this public URL here. So if you need to show your clients something quickly, just go to the site, try it out, show them how it works. Okay, another question. Any plans for Wannafind as payment provider out of the box? No, we basically haven't seen a lot of interest in that. So what we're doing is we're targeting the bigger players, so QuickPay, ePay, Dips, and Nets in Denmark. Wannafind is a little too niche right now. Different question here. Are we able to create our own payment provider? Yes, definitely. It is fully documented. You can go to ucommerce.dk. You can go to the support section here, go to the documentation page, and you'll see there's the API reference I talked about. Here's the documentation for integrating with a sort of a non-redirect model. And here's how you would integrate with a payment provider by redirecting the customer to their site. So, and also in documentation on how to set up the existing ones. So really detailed information about where to find the different values and parameters that the provider requires. Kevin is asking, we could extend it for Wannafind or any other payment gateway, and the answer is yes, you can. We've got around 20 providers integrated already, so the APIs are pretty well tested against a bunch of different payment provider models. So I'm pretty certain that it will work for any provider at this point because we have pretty much seen every model out there at this point. All right, questions going once, going twice, going three times. I will give you my contact information before we end, and if you have any questions while I type, go ahead and post them in the chat, and I will make sure and answer them to the best of my knowledge. Otherwise, you can get at me on email at ssl@ucommerce, ucommerce.dk. You can use the Twitter if you're so inclined. This is my personal account. There will be some pictures of cats and dogs here, and also uCommerce related stuff, of course. The official uCommerce account, that will only be uCommerce related, no cats and dogs here. So just to, and of course you can phone us up. Our number is +45 for those of you in the outside of Denmark, and 61 79 799 997. Yes. Good. So there are no additional questions. So I will thank you guys for your time. Thank you for your questions. That was some good questions there. And I hope to speak to you soon. Thanks, guys.